Did you know we have completely ad-free early access to all of our episodes? Well, we do. Not only that, but we have dozens of bonus episodes waiting for you. Head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod, and you can check it out for 7 days absolutely free. That's patreon.com/ghosttownpod.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Monsters of God, The Fever. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
Everybody, it's Rebecca, and we're going to try something a little bit new here at Ghost Town HQ. I have always been wanting to do recaps. I love television. We've talked extensively about TV, documentaries, how they entered the zeitgeist, how they affect people, etc. So we thought we'd do a little experiment here, and that is doing some recaps of some contemporary shows, docuseries, etc. Again, kind of my bread and butter. In terms of making a living doing it myself, but I also have thoughts, I have opinions, I have things I want to say, Jason does too, so we're going to do a little Ghost Town experiment and start covering some of these things. Fun, right? A little change. Again, we'll be back to your regularly scheduled programs sometimes, but we want to kind of dive into the offerings, see what's out there, talk about what's being watched right now. Fun stuff. I think so. You tell us. You tell us. So today we'll be talking about a show on HBO called Monsters of God. Episode 1, The Fever. It is a 5-part docuseries from Eric Goode. If that name rings a bell, as it should if you are an American with Netflix, it's the guy who did Tiger King in 2021 and Chimp Crazy in 2024. The man has cornered the market on bizarre animal limited docuseries, which is a niche market. We can all agree it's a niche market. Anyway, he is all over this new type of community. Now, these things are hits. I get why they're getting made. But as you'll see through this first episode, and this is the first episode, it should be a banger, like it should be sexy. It's kind of what got me into Tiger King and Chimp Crazy is the fact that the first episodes like really hit you hard with this culture and want you to explore it. They invite you in very seductively and they say, sit down, relax, have a chimp or two in the corner. No, don't tell anyone. Don't make any phone calls. Yes, that's a tiger over there. Yes, that's a Florida man over there, and you get to be a part of it. These things are hits, so why not make another one based on another species of exotic animal? Of course, yes. But there are times where you're just like, is this the same shit again? Now, this is produced by A24 and Josh Safdie, and it's based on a nonfiction book, which the other ones I don't believe were, by Brian Christie called The Lizard King, The True Crimes and Passions of the World's Greatest Reptile Smugglers. Sexy little title. Agreed. I'll give it to him. But they called this one The Lizard King, and, you know, I have feelings. I have feelings about it. Jason Segel was quoted in Deadline as saying, quote, "At times it feels like Goodfellas. It feels like Scarface sometimes. I watched every episode over 2 days and was mesmerized. I can't wait for all of you guys to see it." Now, you tell me, you tell us if you feel the same way. I am not sure that I did. I was enthralled and a little bit turned on by some parts and disgusted by others. I don't think Jason Segel had any part in the documentary. He's just a random famous fan. They were like, yeah, it's Jason Segel. He's famous. He watches television. Let's get him to say a thing about a thing. It's like Goodfellas. It's like Scarface. Sure, whatever. So, the first scene, the first minute of this show, we see a man fighting a giant snake in a tin box with what I believe is a Monster energy drink sticker on the inside front of the box. Already great. We're in this. We got this. The snake is very huge and very angry, and he's trying to, I guess, put it in another box? Why the box transfer with a giant snake? And also, why are the holes in these boxes are very tiny? You know, there's the trap with the Monster energy drink. There's like a tiny hole in one and a tiny hole in the other. And the guy's kind of like hitting the snake to get from one tiny hole into the other, even though the trap on the top of the Monster energy thing was open. I don't understand it. And the snake is so angry. Then we see Eric Goode driving around Florida City, Florida, and calling a bunch of people trying to get interviews with reptile people. Capital R, capital P, reptile people. He's on the beat. He's boots on the ground in Florida City, getting those interviews locked in. There's a montage of huge lizards and snakes, and then a piece of roadkill to feed alligators. I'm already a little bit nauseated and horrified. I kept asking myself, do I even like lizards? Do I like what I'm seeing? The healthy things that are alive. Do I like the living things that are being glorified in this documentary, aside from any politics and any human influence? And I thought to myself, yeah, I guess so. Some of them are pretty colors. Some of them are very large and intimidating to me. I'm not like historically like grossed out by like snakes and reptiles and, you know, spiders. I'm not like that. I like snakes. They seem nice and interesting, kind of fine enough, but there's so many so quickly. And that gives me pause, makes me a little nervous. And then we've got the fucking director who, again, he always puts himself in these things, which is not altogether bad because it is part of like his interests. But I don't know. I'm unsettled. I continue to be unsettled when we meet Tommy Crutchfield, who owns a bunch of monitor lizards who, he says, whose teeth are like scalpels. And yet, Crutchfield taunts them with a hand that apparently smells like chicken. His chicken hand. Crutchfield looks like Santa Claus if Santa Claus lived in Florida with a bunch of giant lizards. Eric Goode admits that he too is a reptile person, inserting himself into the narrative. We get it. Capital R, capital P. He's invested in the story. And I guess more so than Tiger King and Chimp Crazy, I need to know more. Also, all of these exotic communities are in Florida. Of course they are. Of course they are. You can't escape Florida culture no matter what we do. There's enough culture packed into Florida, and I'm not talking about good culture. Talking about Florida culture, that will get all of us through another 3 pandemics, I would say. We learned the reptile industry started with 2 dealers. We're getting a little history. We're getting back in Hank Molt and Tommy Crutchfield. Molt doesn't give a fuck about Crutchfield, and Crutchfield does give a fuck about Molt. He hates him. Crutchfield was born in the Panhandle because, of course, he did, and came from nothing. It's kind of the success story. When he was 5, he found a ring-necked snake under a rock. His origin story, his hero's journey. After turning that rock over, he ran to a place called a snakeatorium and began working there as a snake hunter, catching snakes to bring them to the snakeatorium, to be in the snakeatorium. That was his job until he was promoted to a guide, guiding people around the snakes, talking about the snakes. And then he was promoted beyond that to be a snake milker. What is a snake milker? I'm so glad you asked. A snake milker is a specialized professional who safely extracts venom from venomous snakes. What education do you need to do this? None. You need none to do this. Nothing. Tommy Crutchfield married Penny the cashier from the snakeatorium. The snakeatorium. I'll say it again, snakeatorium. And the reception was at, you guessed it, folks, the snakeatorium. I bet people were getting fucking tanked at that wedding. I mean, I bet people are getting tanked at the snakeatorium to begin with, but they were definitely getting tanked at that wedding between Penny and Tommy Crutchfield. Crutchfield explains that before 1966, the lizards were just boring and small, but enter Hank Molt, who imported fancy lizards with his company called the Philadelphia Reptile Exchange, which actually, it looks like the New York Stock Exchange. Like it's got that, like that university diploma font to it. There's a lot of funny, crazy ass fonts in this too with businesses. We'll get into that a little bit later. It feels like, based on this font, that I could spend a lot of money at the Philly Reptile Exchange. The Philly Rep, if you will, and I will. Now, it feels like a place you could really be taken care of, like champagne as you browse the reptiles on this literal menu of lizards that he has in the B-roll. It's like a list, like the blue-tongued skink or the Nile monitor or the New Jersey pine snake. Like pick a lizard off the menu, pay for the lizard, and you get the lizard at the Philly Rep. It's separated also by poisonous and not poisonous, just so you don't get confused. You don't want to take home something that you don't know what you're in for. If you want poisonous, you get poisonous. If you want non-poisonous, you get non-poisonous. They want to make that clear at the very least. Now, Penny, Mrs. Snakeatorium, also doesn't like Hank Molt. And it makes sense. The B-roll really shows him as this like nefarious, tiny little man. He's the opposite of Santa Claus. He's like the Skeletor, the crypt keeper of the story, a perfect counterpoint to Crutchfield. But also, he's of course very tan. Then there's some very funny B-roll on Molt being a man of mystery, him fingering snakes and then like switching hats, Carmen Sandiego style. He's like, I'm in this hat. I'm a flight attendant now, and now I'm a jungle guide, and now it's like, why? You're a sociopath, sir. Nobody cares about that. Nobody really, but okay, this is for your own. This is like every day is a Halloween party to you. Molt's origin story is that he worked at Kraft Foods, bought some snakes, then wrote letters to random people who were pictured in National Geographic looking for whatever reptile they were handling in the photo. Literally, just a photo in National Geographic. Oh, that lizard looks cool. I'm going to see under the photo that guy's name, and I'm going to find his ass, and I'm going to write his ass a letter lying that I worked for a zoo, just the zoo, generic, and then connecting with them, right? And then from there, learning about the lizards and maybe trying to buy them. Great. It makes the internet look wholesome. At least in the dark web, you aren't surprised by a random fucking Florida guy hitting you up asking for a giant turtle. I will say Molt was kind of hot as a young man. That is all I will say. But anyway, he quit the job at his Mayo store and bought a pet shop and started selling exotic animals to zoos at crazy prices for the day. Like $700 for a snake, which is today, according to the internet, and I usually get this wrong in Ghost Town, so I apologize. I think this is right, though. I think this is right. Like $8,000. Maybe I've been in LA too long. That doesn't seem like that crazy for me to get an exotic snake from Southeast Asia. To me. I mean, people pay like $5,000 here for like a whippet or like a doodle blend or like a bald cat. So I don't know. I'm crazy. LA has ruined me and pricing forever. Zoos, of course, were spending massive amounts of money expanding their reptile portfolio, so Molt was swimming in sweet exotic lizard cash. Lizards, to a fair point, make zoos look very good. Lizards are to zoos like fake eyelashes are to a face. You know, like you don't need any you got the eyelashes, right? You got the thing that's the thing that kind of takes it up a notch, and the rest doesn't have to be a thing. So if you're a zoo and you're like, let's get fucking fancy, let's get a fucking $700 crazy iguana thing, and like that's a thing, and then we can like, skimp on the koalas a little bit, right? Like we got this thing. So like seals, who fucking cares, So this creates something, of course, that's a little crazy. We get this big montage of unregulated lizards and the people who love them, going to zoos, crowding zoos, spectacle. They keep talking about crazy prices, but like, again, I've been in LA just far too long and I don't care. Am I jaded? I am. But I don't, unless it's fucking crazy, unless my like bad at math brain is like, whoa, I don't want to hear it. Millions or like, high six figures, or I don't know. What do I know? I pay $30 for a sandwich here. Don't even blink. Money just goes places here. Enter the environmental movement in the 70s. The environment people killed all the fun. The unregulated lizard party was over with the 1973 Endangered Species Act. Or was it? Zoos were like, well, we still want huge poisonous snakes and aggressive crocodiles. So what do we do? And the zoos went to the exotic animal suppliers and they were like, And the suppliers were like, And they were like, could we? And the suppliers were like, you can. And the black market reptile sales continued. And that's where Tommy Crutchfield comes in, who is also hot as a younger man. I guess everyone in the 70s is like kind of hot, kind of tan, and they all just become like a Florida 70s. You know, like it's like hot, young Florida 70s and like older Florida 70s, very disparate group, aesthetically speaking. So he starts a business called Tom Crutchfield Reptile Enterprises and also begins going to weird places, buying weird animals and selling them, also illegal, of course. He was, according to Molt, a real go-getter. And that's the biggest compliment anyone will give anyone in this documentary for the hour that I watched it. That's it. That's the best. Crutchfield made this giant poisonous snake market a lot cheaper and accessible. And Molt hated it but respected it. Every picture in this documentary has men with every picture, like, unless it's like a weird font with like a menu of reptiles, they're all like fucking men with long hair and denim and like a marble red and a snake like around their, like a giant snake around their neck. And they're like fucking love it. They've never been happier. It's like Woodstock if it were in Florida with anacondas. It's also kind of like, I'll admit it, it's a little bit sexy. There's like skulls and tattoos and daggers and motorcycles. And the motorcycle man to reptile man pipeline is very strong, I've learned. Very, very strong. Then we get a little bit of name dropping. Neil Diamond's bodyguard was a big crocodile guy. And at this point I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. Crocodiles, lizards, they've hit the mainstream. They're sexy now. They've been normalized now, not just in Florida, but for Neil Diamond's bodyguard, who I may or may not have lived in Florida. I'm not sure. I'm going to think of him as very popular and very, very mainstream. Then we're introduced to someone else who's very popular and very mainstream in a less sexy way, Special Agent Marie Palladini of the Fish and Wildlife Department. She looks like a real fucking square, like Dianne Feinstein vibes, you know. She starts investigating this dude that I haven't even mentioned yet, Ed Celabuki, also great name, great Florida name, who was a karate instructor turned sex club owner who would shut down his dojo at night, get a bunch of beef from Sam's Club, his words not mine, and have a sex party in the dojo. But he also loved reptiles. A man named Steve Levy was also in the mix, a horny little freak who, along with Ed Celabuki, did Molt's bidding. So Molt's kind of building this like freaky little army to go out and smuggle some types of lizards and things from all over the world. Together, they start a fake nonprofit, which made lizard smuggling a whole lot easier in terms of country-to-country red tape. But that wasn't enough. They had to wear lots and lots of disguises because that's fun and a little fuck you to, I don't know, any sense of rules or regulations or reality. Pretty bizarro. These reptile freaks really had a good thing going on at this point, a sexy thing going on. Thailand, Singapore, Australia, Switzerland, very catch me if you can, very blow, snakes in suitcases, call girls, more Marlboro Reds, more cigarettes, lots and lots of cigarettes. If I hadn't mentioned cigarettes, there were many cigarettes. But then a big rift happened between Hank Molt and Ed Celabuki, who, I have to say, his interview in this documentary is fucking more nuts than anything I've said. He's in a hospital bed, mostly lying down, a little bit elevated, just a bit. And we don't know why he's in a hospital bed. And he sounds like kind of gurgly too, but we don't know why. We don't know how or what or why. And you know what? After 25 minutes in, my brain went lots of places for sure. I'm worried about him. I am. And I don't know why he's doing this interview. I'm sure as someone who works in this sphere, they didn't pay him much, if at all. And I'm like, are you spending your last dying days talking to Eric Good about turtles? Dude, I'm worried. Anyway, I digress. Molt had his people, but he paired with a rich guy, an ex-Chicago Bear named Eddie Allen, who was very hot, agreed, but also into hot air ballooning. Yeah. I saw hot and I said he was it, but I didn't read the rest of my sentence in my notes. This thing is like a Mad Lib. Anyway, nobody's asking the reptiles what they're thinking about any of this, of course, but we get a lot of close-up B-roll of these poor creatures just waiting to be abused, or worse. We'll get there. I'll give you fair warning. All of this smuggling. The smuggling was happening. We've got this ex-Chicago Bear. We've got Karate Dojo Sex Club Band. We've got Sex Pest. We've got Mr. Carmen Sandiego, Reptile Grinch. But all things must come to an end. Well, a stop, a pause. The Hank Molt smuggling case was what they called what happened next. Special agents from the Federal Fish and Wildlife Department kind of caught on to Molt and kind of forced Molt and his people and his animals to go underground, like literally underground, like into the trunk of his car, again, Florida, and then into the ground. We'll get there. Eddie Allen rats out Hank Molt about all this illegal animal dealing, about the nonprofit, etc., after the agents grill his rich ass. Allen then takes the federal agents into the woods, and this is the part where you might want to fast forward, like, I don't know, 15 seconds or so, because this is extremely sad and disturbing and colors the rest of my experience of this first episode. And I would imagine this is what Eric Good wanted us to experience, but I, as an animal lover, a staunch animal lover, who just had my own dog pass away, I was like, oh, can I take this right now? Had a good cry, paused, got back to it. So they are driving into the woods. This is very Sopranos, too, because you know what's coming. Where the feds get to this, like, clearing. And Alan takes them to, like, a clearing, and they start digging. And in this coffin, this tomb, they find a bunch of exotic animals buried. It's like a coffin. There's 40 or 50 animals. And at first I thought that they were alive, but they are very, very sadly not alive. And I was just like, oh my fucking God. And the archival materials around this event are really heartbreaking. These animals, again, as someone who, I'm not sure, maybe I will feel a certain kind of way about snakes and reptiles after I go on this journey with you to recap this show. But I'm not sure how I feel about this, but my heart was broken. These animals are from all over the world, and they were buried alive after being smuggled across the world to be sold to people, zoos. And it's so fucking tragic. It's tragic. It's horrible. This event was so big that it was on the cover of Customs magazine, which is a magazine I'd never heard of, but that seems big for federal things, right? At this point, I'm just like, I don't give a fuck about Customs magazine, though. I'm like, get this asshole that did this. And they do. Molt is indicted on 200 counts. He could get 12 to 15 years in prison. I'm like, fuck this guy. Like, I think that they framed it like he loved these animals, but we did admittedly get this set up for us because all the people around him are estranged from him that he used to work with and calls him a sociopath. So they were setting this up, but also I think the spirit of this documentary is that these people are obsessed with animals, much like Chimp Crazy. It's in the title, much like Tiger King, kind of in the title too, you know? Not so much with this, really. Ed Allen, for being a rat, is fined $10,000. But Molt goes to jail for less than he is found guilty, but he is in jail for a tiny little second. And then the special agents went after the zoos, including Washington's National Zoo, who were not there to play. They were like, we're the Washington, D.C. Zoo. We are fully corrupt already. Get the fuck up. Do you want any funding for the rest of your little cases with exotic things? No? Okay, then get the fuck out of our backyard. So no zoo was charged for their obviously knowing that they were buying exotic animals from Molt and all of these people because they wanted something sexy for people to come and pay for and see. Then there's a bunch of boring shit about the Fish and Wildlife Department and their reputation. It's like, I don't really care. I just saw a mass animal graveyard. So, this doesn't really affect me that much. But it does leave an open slot when Molt goes to prison for someone else to come in and take on the market because the zoos are still trying to buy animals. And you know what? Someone has to supply them, those animals. And that someone is Florida's Santa Claus. More after this break.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
With Hank Molt being a disgusting animal killer and zoos needing their specific exotic reptile fix, they turn, of course, to Tommy Crutchfield. That's right, Mr. Florida Santa Claus, Mr. Snakeatorium himself. Crutchfield gets in on it. He talks about going to Malaysia and hanging out with some other fucking fucked up people, including a dude named Anson Wong, who will factor into this story, I believe, hardcore later. Wong is this man who looks 12, of course, with a cigarette, who owns a company called Exotics, Skins, and Alives. You know when you're defining animals by their skins and if they're living creatures on the planet, that it is illegal. It's bad. This is very, very bad. I'm not a genius, but I flag this as red. So they start doing business together to zoos who are still playing dumb and still trying to buy cool shit for their fucking shit. And they become the thing, to the chagrin? Is that the word? To the angry little costume man Hank Molt, who's a criminal now, who's in jail. So hand over the crown to somebody marginally more ethical than you are. Marginally. But that didn't go well. Molt didn't like playing second fiddle to anybody, so he, as soon as he got out of prison and realized that Crutchfield was doing his business, started a new company called Herpetofauna International. Okay, cool font, right? It's the Broadway font, It's even flashier than the diploma font. But Crutchfield saw this and he said, hold my purse. And he started Herpetofauna Incorporated. Truly, it was war. Then, for whatever fucking reason, there's a reason, but I was just like, this fucker again? We are reintroduced to Dwayne Cunningham. Now, if you've watched these documentaries, you maybe know who this guy is. Dwayne Cunningham is the clown. He's a clown man from Chimp Crazy. You might know him because he wore a wire when he went in to talk to some of the people, pretending to help them. He's a mole. Well, he's back. All these people, I swear to God, they're all back. Did they ever leave? I don't fucking know. This guy, Cunningham, worked for a long time for Tommy Crutchfield. And of course, we see all his B-roll of like snakes around his neck, and he's in a weird, funny hat. And then there's another snake around his arm, and holy shit, this guy loves snakes. Crazy, right? Crazy in this climate. Crazy with these people. Things heat up when Cunningham gets a Fiji Island iguana, one of the rarest animals in the world for Crutchfield. Now, this becomes a whole other thing. That becomes a whole other thing. But ego, as they say, always gets in the way. Crutchfield is very proud of this Fiji Island iguana, which is a very sexy iguana. I'll admit it. As someone who's reptile agnostic, I'll admit that this is a beautiful specimen. It's like lime green. It's like sky blue. It looks smooth, and looks chill. It's got these little claws. It's got this little like yellow lipstick. It's good. It's good. And it makes sense why it's so sought after. Along with being rare, it's beautiful. So Cunningham helps Crutchfield get this animal. There's more than one in the mix because they're breeding, because of course they are. And he loves them. It's Cunningham and Crutchfield. It's Crutchfield's pride and joy, this fucking Fiji Island iguana. But word gets out because he keeps talking to people who come to his little reptile shop unassuming, not knowing he's a full-on smuggler and has these fucking animals in the back of his house. He keeps giving tours and showing people this beautiful Fiji Island iguanas. Check out these iguanas. Like, I get it. I know why he would want to show them off, but you can't because it's illegal, sir. But he doesn't care. Anyway, federal agents catch wind of the fact that he's got a whole fucking farm with little lime green beauties back there, and they get his ass, He knows that they're on him, so he's trying to unload these things. He, unlike Molt, does not have the heart to kill them, and you know what? I give him tremendous credit for that, and it makes him still a likable character in this whole shit show of a documentary. He tries to pawn them off on the San Diego Zoo, and they're like, okay. So they take them, and then the employees of the zoo are like, why do we have 40 more Fiji Island iguanas? And the zoo's like, I don't know. And so they send them back to Crutchfield because they're like, this is too suspicious. So then he gets them back, and at this point, this is what the documentary tells us. We will never know the real story. Crutchfield calls Molt, his sworn enemy, killer of animals, to take these iguanas. At this point, I'm like, are all of these Eric Good documentaries the same? There's the agent, there's a collector, everyone's a fucking nut. People do things that don't make fucking sense. Like, everyone's a character in a hat. Like, everyone's got a bad tan and a weird face, and everyone's just like wandering around. Everyone's in a lawn chair with a beer, watching a giant animal on the Florida humidity. I was like, am I out? Like, am I out? I wasn't out quite yet, but this is a hard part too. So fast forward 15 seconds if you don't like more animal cruelty. Crutchfield calls Mole to take his iguanas to take them somewhere, to do something with them, because the federal agents are like on his nuts about it. They know he's got something. They are looking for anything to put him in jail. Molt says, sure, I'll take these iguanas. And he looks at the camera and he says, God, it's so crazy that the iguanas died. It's so crazy, right? Crutchfield looks at the camera and he's like, he killed them. He killed all of them. And I am like, Crutchfield, you stupid fucking bitch. Come on. You knew that was going to happen. At this point, I'm pretty nauseated. Like, everyone sucks in all these documentaries, but I feel like there's so much more animal murder in this one. Am I wrong? Am I wrong about this? It was so, and maybe it's just the place that I'm in, it just like so affected me. But not only that, as if it wasn't bad enough that he killed these beautiful creatures, he takes them and he puts them in alcohol and puts them in like bottles. Like when you go into like a mad scientist or an alchemy, like there's these like pickled animals in bottles, right? They're just like kind of floating in there, and it's like kind of gross and like witchy and like fucking weird and whatever. Well, Molt does this to these prized animals and then just has them rolling around in the back of his car for a rainy day, for something. He has a plan, but he's like, you know what? I'm not even going to do the dignity of putting these animals somewhere safe. I'm going to have them rolling around in the back of my fucking truck with a 6-pack and a fucking storm blanket and a fucking spare tire. These gorgeous, rare animals. Ugh. Molt called the Fish and Wildlife Agency to tell them that he had these dead iguanas after, they probably got pretty baked and soaked back there. And Crutchfield and Wong were eventually indicted. Molt did get his revenge. It took time, but he did. The fucking sociopath. Crutchfield got 5 months in jail and 2 months probation. He called federal prison like a vacation. So again, it wasn't so bad, I guess. And he said in his own words that he fucking thrived in there. So of course, not really a punishment. Fine. He has a criminal record now, but he did okay in jail, I suppose. He doesn't elaborate on that yet. Maybe in a different episode, but I'm curious, Beyond that, to twist the knife, because Molt is in fact a fucking sociopath, if you didn't already know that, he sends Crutchfield in prison while he's like having a nice time in prison. Think about this. You're having a nice time in prison, just like any other prisoner, having a nice day. Maybe you're working out in the open yard space. Maybe you're in your cell talking to your cellmate. Maybe you're in the cafeteria having a nice lunch and you receive a letter. It's from Hank Molt. And you're like, that guy got me in here and killed all my most beloved animals. What's this all about? You open the letter and you see a serial killer-like collage with letters and faces cut from magazines that say simply, fuck you. You get a couple of these, then you get a couple more. You're in there for 5 months, you get a whole fucking bunch. Why? Because Molt wanted to torture him. Oof, oh boy. Anson Wong, the guy that Crutchfield was working with, is still MIA. He's not in jail. And we kind of leave the documentary with Crutchfield sitting pretty in prison, except for the fact that Hank Molt is sending him stuff and his kind of his de facto prison pen pal. And that's where we leave it. That's the end of episode 1. How do I feel? I don't even know. A little grossed out, a little whiplashy. This is clearly familiar territory to good. But do I like it? I don't yet. Hopefully there's more. Hopefully Molt gets some kind of comeuppance, but he does have a talking head in this documentary. So I can't be like that sure. I mean, he's not sitting doing his interview from a cell. So he's out, I think, but maybe they trick us. Some documentaries do that. They trick you and they are in fact incarcerated. I know that. I've seen that. I don't know. Anyway, that's where we leave it. This highly anticipated, wild-ass documentary that will seem so familiar to you and yet also nearly as disturbing, or maybe more so. Honestly, it was more so to me. Will it make you love reptiles, hate them, feel some way about them? Yes, it will. I don't know what way that will go, though. That's kind of a personal journey that you have to take. But take it with me, I will be recapping. These come out on Thursday, so it's kind of perfect. We had those Friday episodes that we're putting behind the Patreon wall. So we'll have these instead for a little while. So come with me. Patreon, Monsters of God, Episode 2, Operation Cobra. And that will air on August 13th. I'll recap it right after. Maybe Jason will be there with me. Maybe a new friend. Maybe it'll be just me ranting away in my little shed. Nothing in here to speak of. No creatures. Just me. So you can be my creature. I don't know. You can fucking wrap your little bod around me and get cozy. Dangerously cozy to me. Patreon.com/ghosttownpod. Please come with me. Tell me if you enjoy this. Tell me what I can do differently, etc., etc. I am here to listen, watch, and learn. Thank you.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.